Couple recent news articles here. Yesterday, it looked like the Washington Post was freaking out over this news that the State Department has intensified their email probe of Hillary Clinton's former aides, and the Post is desperately trying to spin this. Another article from this morning talks about this new update with Clinton and the weird mainstream media response to this most recent news. Clinton emailers have been rattled after the State Department fires off culpability letters for homebrew server messages. The State Department's Bureau of Diplomatic Security has finally finished sifting through millions of emails from Hillary Clinton's controversial basement server, many of which were classified and/or blind copied to a Gmail address bearing the name of a Chinese company, according to the Intelligence Community's Inspector General. State Department investigators began contacting former officials around 18 months ago. Probe actually began under President Obama. In recent weeks, the State Department has contacted approximately 130 officials whose emails, which went through Clinton's special server, have been retroactively classified and may now pose potential security violations, according to the Post. This has nothing to do with who is in the White House, said a senior State Department official. This is about the time it took to go through millions of emails, which is about 3.5 years. Article goes on to question the coverage by the Washington Post on this story yesterday. Many are probably aware of the Washington Post's links to the CIA already. For some that are new to the channel, again, bringing up the $600 million cloud computing contract between the CIA and the Washington Post's owner, Jeff Bezos. And since the last election, Jeff Bezos has hired people like John Podesta to write for the Washington Post. John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager, is now a contributor to the Washington Post. People have been increasingly calling out the Washington Post as just being really a mouthpiece for the deep state, the CIA, and people like John Podesta and other Hillary Clinton cronies. So there's some serious questions about the Post's coverage on this issue as well. Zero Hedge article saying the flood of letters which began in August read, quote, "You have been identified as possibly bearing some culpability regarding security incidents." They're quoting the Post article. This was the Washington Post, said the list of state officials being questioned includes prominent ambassadors and assistant secretaries of state responsible for U.S. policy in the Middle East, Europe, and Central Asia. But it also includes dozens of current and former career bureaucrats who served as conduits for outside officials trying to get important messages to Clinton. In most cases, the bureaucrats and political appointees didn't send the emails directly to Clinton, but passed them to William Burns, who served as Deputy Secretary of State, or Jake Sullivan, the former Director of Policy Planning at the State Department. Burns and Sullivan then forwarded the messages to Clinton's private email. So that quote is part of how the Post is trying to frame this most recent update, and Zero Hedge pointing out how President Trump's opponents will likely take Washington Post's editorialized cue and accuse the president of targeting political adversaries like the Obama administration did with the IRS. Note how the Washington Post is lying in order to bolster the new narrative behind the Clinton email revival. So they're trying to spin this update on Clinton against President Trump, claiming that Trump, quote, used multiple levers of his office to pressure the leader of Ukraine. When the leader of Ukraine announced on Wednesday, quote, "Nobody pushed me to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden, nor did he know about the $400 million in U.S. military aid that Trump paused prior to a July 25th phone call." Citing another section of the article from the Post yesterday, it said, quote, "To many of those under scrutiny, including some of the Democrat Party's top foreign policy experts, the recent flurry of activity surrounding the Clinton email case presents a new front on which the Trump administration could be accused of employing the powers of the executive branch against perceived political adversaries." And then the Washington Post goes on to lie about what's going on with Joe Biden, claiming that the president used multiple levers of his office to pressure the leader of Ukraine to pursue investigations against Biden. So while the State Department said they are bound by law to adjudicate any violations, former Obama administration officials say the probe is a remarkably aggressive crackdown. It is such an obscene abuse of power and time involving so many people for so many years, said one former U.S. official of the inquiry. This has just sucked up people's lives for years and years. Here, the Washington Post lies again in suggesting that President Trump has no grounds to pursue Clinton associates as he has improperly disclosed classified information to foreign officials, except that the president has an inherent constitutional authority to declassify information at will, meaning the rules of disclosure of classified information don't apply to him. Back to the Clinton email saga, Washington Post reports that in many cases, quote, the incidents appear to center on the sending of information attributed to foreign officials, including summaries of phone conversations with foreign diplomats, a routine occurrence among State Department employees. There is also this very questionable quote from the Post article yesterday, where they claimed there is no indication in any of the materials reviewed by the Post that the emails under scrutiny contained sensitive information about classified U.S. initiatives or programs. In one case, a former official was asked to explain dozens of messages dating back to 2009 that contained messages that foreign officials wanted relayed rapidly to Washington at a time when U.S. Foreign Service officers were equipped with BlackBerries and other devices that were not capable of sending classified transmissions. The messages came in through regular email and then were forwarded through official, though unclassified, State Department channels. Zero Hedge questioning this quote as well, saying while the Post may have no indication that any of the emails contained sensitive information about classified U.S. initiatives or programs, they don't disclose how many of the underlying emails they reviewed or who they came from. According to the report, many of those contacted in the probe have been found not culpable, with many letters reading that investigators, quote, determined that the security incident is valid, but that the person did not bear any individual culpability. The Post's reaction here, obviously very strange, and also the reactions of Obama administration officials. Some of them look like they are panicking. One quote says, "I'd like to think that this is just routine, but something strange is going on," said Jeffrey Feltman, was one Obama administration official. He's the former Assistant Secretary for Near East Affairs. In early 2018, Feltman received a letter informing him that a half dozen of his messages included classified information. Then a few weeks ago, he was found culpable for more than 50 emails that contained classified information. Quote, "A couple of the emails cited by the state as problems were sent after my May 2012 retirement, when I was already working for the United Nations," he said. Similar reactions from other Obama administration officials. Another former senior U.S. official familiar with the email investigation described it as a way for Republicans to keep the Clinton email issue alive. The former official said the probe was, quote, "a way to tarnish a whole bunch of Democrat foreign policy people and discourage, if not prevent them from returning to government service." So you have multiple Obama administration officials freaking out, saying that this is a remarkably aggressive crackdown by the State Department, by President Trump's administration, and nobody should be allowed to investigate the Obama administration. That's what Obama officials are basically trying to claim here. So an interesting update, also an interesting reaction from the Washington Post and other Obama administration officials. Don't seem to be taking this news very well. We'll have to see what this could lead to. Let me know what you think in a comment. I will continue to follow this and follow up with any related details. If you could leave a like on this video, it's greatly appreciated, and subscribe to the channel. Also, thanks everybody that's been sharing the channel, sharing the videos, helping get this information out there. In the video description are links to my Patreon and PayPal accounts where you can support the channel. Thanks everybody that supported the channel there. I'll follow up soon. Thanks everyone.